bench seats will have food, as well as these backs will have some extra dry provisions. And that'll be the same for all these bench seats that'll have some.
How do submarines really cook food underwater for months at a time? Nuclear submarines stay submerged for long periods without fresh supplies. So how is food stored, kept fresh, and prepared in tight quarters?
Food is kept in storerooms, small cabinets, and other locations around the ship. But because of operational security concerns, cameras were only allowed in the galley during our visit.
As the submarine takes off, it goes to sea with enough food to last the whole mission, which could be anywhere from days to months. Hence, any kind of food, from fresh fruits to frozen meats to canned goods, has to be packed and stored in such a way that they can stay fresh as long as possible. Since a submarine cannot be resupplied after diving, everything has to be carefully planned.
There are 2 chefs on board, myself and the senior chef. I'm the junior chef on board right now. He's posted out right now, so he'll be out in June, and I'll be taking temporarily his place until newer chef comes in. There's only 1 steward on board. He does the breakfast. The cooks, we do lunch and supper. We work around the clock. There's only enough space, as you can see in the galley. When you look around, there's only enough space for 1 person at a time.
The amount of space on a submarine is severely limited. The galley is as small as a closet. It's no larger than a tiny room in your house. And yet, this little kitchen has to be used to prepare meals for an entire crew, often more than 100 people. The chefs, called culinary specialists, face the gigantic task of planning and preparing 3 meals a day for months for the entire crew. Food loading must be performed in the best possible manner before the departure of the submarine. Unlike surface vessels, there's no large storage rooms available. Submarines have narrow hatches and limited spaces, so every item must go through tiny openings, one at a time.
We'll have food, as well as these backs will have some extra dry provisions.
Meats, seafood, and vegetables are stored in deep freezers. Dry rations, such as rice, pasta, and flour, are stored in airtight containers. Canned goods are stuffed in every available nook and cranny. In fact, some of the crew have their racks turned into food storage spaces temporarily. But of course, food doesn't last forever, so how do submarines stop their supplies from spoiling? The answer lies in some clever preservation tricks.
And this is our bonded store here.
So that's the bonded store,
Yeah.
and let's have a look what all we have in the bond store.
Yes, sir.
So in bond store, basically we keep cigarettes, water bottles, soft drinks, non-alcoholic beverages.
The food has to be stored in a manner that allows it to remain unspoiled for months. Perishable produce such as fruits and vegetables gets consumed first. For instance, leafy greens such as lettuce and soft fruits like bananas are eaten during the first week. Sturdier produce such as apples, potatoes, and onions are savored toward the latter part of the mission. Due to limited refrigeration, submarines use modern techniques for the preservation of food. One method is called vacuum packing, where the atmosphere is sucked out of the packaging, thereby stopping the natural spoilage of food due to exposure to oxygen. For instance, fresh meat can be vacuum packed and hence remain good for weeks under such conditions.
Vegetable room here.
The vegetable room, guys.
And specific, there's cheese and tin, something like sausage and pork and ice cream. You can see inside everything.
So, Chief, can you open this and show us how it looks?
Yes, this is the cheese here.
Cheese here, alright.
I put some juice there and yogurt, so it will be.
The other method is freeze drying, which consists of preserving food by removing water from it. It extends the shelf life of the food while keeping it at room temperature and is a method used quite frequently in submarine menus. Freeze-dried soups, vegetables, and even scrambled eggs are found in submarines. The advantage is that the food item then occupies a much smaller volume, something really crucial in the cramped quarters of a submarine.
Good stuff. This is all the good stuff.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
We have plenty here.
Yes. So
Canned goods have their own importance. Even meats, vegetables, and bread are canned, thereby providing a constant supply to the crew. Powdered milk and dehydrated potatoes also find their way on board. With a bit of water, they can easily be converted into a meal. Now, preserving food is one thing, but actually cooking it while inside of a metal tube deep underwater, that's a whole different challenge. Let's now explore the kitchen where this food is prepared. Now, the galley inside the submarine is no bigger than a small closet, and it has to feed over 100 sailors 3 times a day, every single day. Electric stoves, ovens, and steamers help with this. There's no open flames on a submarine, as they might cause a dangerous fire. Everything has to work off of electricity to ensure safety.
3 hours to cook. So the challenge down here, when it comes to cooking, like I said, it's time consuming. And it's not like tonight where it's steak night, we have to stagger cook everything we make. So you make it all ahead of time if you can, partially cook it about 80%, finish it off about 20%, close to the time frame and serve it. And that eats up a lot of our time. So if you're not very good at managing your time, it's not the place to be.
The chefs work in shifts to make sure that the crew is always fed on time regardless of the hour. Cooking has to be fast, efficient, and organized. Every ingredient, tool, and piece of equipment has a certain place in the kitchen. Any underwater submerging or lifting gets it all locked into place. Keeping the food interesting is one of the biggest challenges in cooking within the submarine. Imagine eating the same thing every day for months. That's exactly how it works. To keep things interesting, the chefs implement a rotating meal plan. Some of the changes to the standard menu include pasta, stir-fry, tacos, and even curry. They even add a few spices and sauces to make the meal tastier and varied.
The time to kind of go with it as it is, and we change it up. Well, we make all kinds of things on board here, from theme nights, something the crew might want. We'd also make it up for them, so creature comfort. The guys would like something special, they'll let us know, and we'll actually try and put it in if we can. Fresh ingredients only last for 2 weeks at a time. After that, it becomes pretty creative, so if you're very creative in what you do, the guys love you down here.
Every so often, the crew gets a special treat, such as having a steak night or homemade pizza. These are special meals intended to give the crew something to look forward to and to uplift their spirits. Even the dessert, like cookies or cakes, have been planned to make the crew feel like they're at home. However, fresh ingredients might not always be available, forcing the chefs to get creative. For example, a piece of frozen chicken could be made into grilled chicken one night and then used for tacos later on during the week. Such flexibility is important when fresh food starts running low. But food isn't just about survival, it's also about keeping spirits high. Long months underwater have a huge toll on morale, and that's where food becomes a lot more than just fuel. Apart from bringing variety to meals, it's also necessary that food intake be rich in nutrients. The crew requires enough protein as well as complex carbohydrates and vitamins in their diet to work long hours under harsh conditions. With plenty of lean meats, fish, eggs, beans, rice, and whole grains included in the meals, the crew can stay healthy and alert. Because submariners don't have the luxury of snacking all day long like we do on land, their meals must supply all the energy they need for the entire shift. Therefore, meals are carefully planned to ensure that they're filling and provide the right nutrients for the body. It's very important to manage food supplies, as submarines cannot resupply themselves once they're underwater. Everything is carefully rationed, and portions are measured so that there's no waste. But what if the mission lasts longer than anticipated? In such scenarios, the chefs must accommodate the remaining ingredients and may need to stretch things even more by modifying the meals to avoid going empty on food. Waste is carefully handled because there isn't really an option to throw things away in the ocean, so food scraps are collected and appropriately disposed of to maintain submarine cleanliness and the health of the crew members.
You're the morale base for the entire crew. If we're not happy, the crew will know we're not happy. It shows through our meals as well as through our attitude, right? So we try to be as positive as we can and keep the crew as happy as possible, because we basically drive the force. And so my boss would like to say, we serve, they protect.
Life on a submarine is a bit boring after months of being submerged under the waves. Special occasions such as birthdays, holidays, and mission milestones are celebrated to help relieve the systematic nature of submarine operations. These celebrations include special meals, such as turkey for Thanksgiving or a barbecue dinner. The chefs plan ahead to have these available, even when their submarines are thousands of miles away from land. Such special meals raise crew morale and bring them one step closer to the outside world, even while they're far beneath the ocean. A good meal always lifts spirits.
Shot was great, thanks. They're nuts when they're not great. I'll get nuggets. And that's a big one. Yeah.
Months of feeding a crew under the water in a nuclear submarine is quite the task, but the chefs handle it with expertise. Life in the sub may be challenging, but good food, a healthy diet, and special meals to look forward to go a long way in keeping the crew healthy, happy, and ready for whatever comes their way during a mission. So now when you hear nuclear submarines, you know that meals are still tasty deep down under the ocean.